like to reconvene this meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. Sanderson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, that was a really nice pledge. That was the loudest I've heard in a long time. Well done.
Friends.
And I would like to apologize for the late start. Our closed session item went longer than expected, and we really tried to start on time. So I apologize. All right. We have item E, adoption and approval of the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item F, public hearing. There will be a public hearing regarding the proposals and plans for expenditures of the deferred maintenance facility funds. I'd like to open the public hearing. Would anybody wish to speak about that? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Item G, special recognitions and presentations. Our first item, we have student representatives from each of the secondary schools who will make presentations on the Student of the Month awards to 2 students from each of those schools for the month of March. And I think we might have a couple of extras from February. Possibles, okay. So how this works is I call the student representatives up. They introduce the students who get to come up and get their awards, look into the camera so the people at home can see. And then we also acknowledge the family of the students who have earned Student of the Month. So after they go to sit down, we'll have the families rise and be acknowledged because they help support their student. So first, I would like to have the student representative from Petaluma Junior High.
Hello, I'm Monique and I'm in 8th grade at Kenilworth Junior High School is pleased to introduce the March Student of the Month, Monica Loza. Monica is an outstanding student who consistently models numerous life skills such as integrity, initiative, maturity, motivation, and patience. Teachers can rely on Monica to put enthusiastic effort into every assignment and to actively participate in class discussions and small group work. Monica is a great student to work with. She is enthusiastic in class and participates well with her teammates. Her work is thorough and turned in on time. Her tests show good understanding of the concepts and procedures taught in class. Monica's peers know her to be kind and compassionate to others, and they know they can count on her to help keep their group on task and focused. Monica is a role model for other students and a pleasure to have in class. While Monica consistently earns high grades, Monica is especially proud of the 4.0 she earned last semester because it was the first time she ever earned that GPA. She was happy that she was able to make her parents so proud. She also accomplished the amazing task of writing a whole novel in English this year, and she is now creating a magazine for her final project. However, her favorite class is PE because she loves softball and dance. In fact, playing softball with her family on weekends is one of her favorite hobbies, and she hopes to try out for the CASA softball team. In her free time, Monica also enjoys reading fiction novels and playing dance games on Wii with her friends. Monica's friends and family know her to be a responsible, nice, and fun young lady. They're all very proud of her for this accomplishment. After high school, Monica plans to go to college and pursue a career not yet determined. She would like to stay in California when she attends college. Going to a 4-year college is very important to Monica and her family. She is in the process of applying to the Upward Bound college program and hopes acceptance to the program that will be the first step to achieving her college goal. It is obvious to everyone at Kenilworth that if Monica continues to approach life with the same initiative, diligence, and motivation, she is bound to achieve all of her goals. Congratulations, Monica.
And we'd like to have Monica's family rise and be acknowledged for their support.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and Kenilworth Junior High School is pleased to introduce the March Student of the Month, Rom Goalie. strive to maintain excellent grades while here at Kenilworth. He is very proud of his personal achievement of earning a 4.0 every semester at Kenilworth, including many A+. Rom's teachers chose him to be Student of the Month for several reasons. Rom is an excellent student who produces thoughtful and complete work. He is polite and respectful and actively participates in classwork and discussions. He works well with other students and cooperates with his teachers. Rom focuses on whatever task he is given, demonstrating that school is a priority. Rom shows his peers that life skills lead to success. Teachers say he is a good team member who shares his opinion and listens to those of others with respect. He is not afraid to question someone else's opinion or defend his own, but he always does so appropriately. Teachers also appreciate that Rom comes to class with a smile on his face and an eagerness to learn every day. Rom's favorite class is science because he really enjoys the hands-on experiments. In fact, Rom is applying to take a physics course in Stanford's summer education program for gifted youth. Beyond school, Rom is a very well-rounded individual with varied interests. Rom is a talented athlete who enjoys soccer, tennis, and mountain biking. Rom has participated in the Kenilworth track team and he looks forward to trying out for the Casa Grande soccer and tennis team next year. Rom is also very musically inclined. He has been a valued member of the Kenilworth Band and Jazz Band for 2 years as a trumpet player. On his own, he also practices piano and guitar. Rom is well known around Kenilworth for being a mature, hardworking, kind, and focused student. Rom's family is extremely proud of all of his accomplishments. Rom succeeds not only as an excellent student, but he also loves being a good older brother. Rom also has an impressive plans for his future. He plans to attend Stanford to major in physics and become a theoretical physicist. Kenilworth is confident that Rom will be able to reach all of his future dreams through his determination, thoughtfulness, and enthusiasm for learning. Congratulations.
I'm Todd Pearson, and Petaluma Junior High School has selected Aaron Martin as a March Student of the Month. Creative, bright, and hardworking, Aaron Martin is Petaluma Junior High School's Student of the Month for March 2012. Her teachers agreed that although Aaron often appears both modest and reluctant to accept praise, her actions speak for themselves. Her academic work is excellent and consistent, and she contributes thoughtful and intelligent questions, comments, and observations during class discussions. Her teachers feel that she exemplifies the Petaluma Junior High School character trait, self-motivated, adding that Aaron's most outstanding quality is her work ethic. She cuts no corners and asks for feedback and criticism when unsure if her work is up to her high-quality standards. Aaron's success at PJHS this year and a half has earned her Silver Renaissance Awards for maintaining a high GPA. Aaron is finishing off her studies as an 8th grade student in top form after challenging herself this year by taking an accelerated program of advanced English and geometry. In addition, she is an editor of the yearbook class and has balanced her academics with participation both years on the PJHS volleyball and basketball teams. Besides being a top student, Erin keeps herself busy outside of school. As a member of the Two Rock 4-H Club, she has raised heifers and lambs, which she has auctioned at county fairs. She also enjoys spending time swimming, painting, and drawing, and developing her photography skills. Erin has clear goals ahead. She plans to go to college and study veterinary medicine or photography, or both, getting a job as a vet or a photographer, and travel to many places in Europe or South America. When asked about some important issues facing her and her peers, Erin responded, "One of the many issues people my age face is pressure to do what your family or friends tell you to do, like what classes to take in high school, or friends telling you to do drugs or steal things." Erin's parents are very proud of her and state this. Erin is a very active member of her 4-H club, serving as an officer for the last 3 years. She is also a junior leader for the Rabbit Project, helping the younger members learning to show and care for the rabbits. Attending all the local shows and fairs, Erin maintains good grades while participating in all her extracurricular sports and activities, making her an excellent selection for Student of the Month. In her final year of playing CYO basketball, Erin's team made the playoffs. Her dedication and work ethic will serve her well in the years to come. Congratulations, Erin.
I'm Eden, and Petaluma Junior High School has selected Ty Pearson as the March Student of the Month. A bright, responsible, and dedicated young man, Ty Pearson has been selected as Petaluma Junior High School Student of the Month for March 2012. Ty is admired among his teachers for being one of the genuine good guys in 8th grade and one of the hardest working students on his team. They describe him using words such as kind, respected, helpful, perseverant, bright, and fun. Ty's teachers also agree that he represents the Petaluma Junior High School character trait, patient, stating that his ability to stay clear of drama yet maintain respect and admiration are indicators that he is one of the rare breed of leaders who lead by example and calm demeanor. Ty has challenged himself this year by taking an accelerated program of advanced English and geometry. He plays alto saxophone in the honor band and is the student body president of PJHS this year. This year he won a first place award for a drug awareness essay that he wrote for the Elks Club. Ty has also been a member of both the track team and the boys basketball team during his 2 years at PJHS. He has managed to successfully combine these activities with academics, earning Silver Renaissance awards during the past year and a half for maintaining a high GPA. Outside of school, Ty keeps himself busy learning things on his own, such as guitar, Japanese, and Spanish. During the summer, he works part-time in his father's cell phone store, gaining experience in customer service, filing, pricing, and cell phone repairs. Looking towards the future, Ty wants to do well in school so he can attend college and eventually enter the medical field. When asked about some important issues facing him and his peers, Ty shared this: "Peer pressure is something I've seen around our school. I think people should not try to impress others by changing themselves, trying to be someone that they're not." Ty's parents proudly commented, "Ty never ceases to amaze us. His positive attitude is inspiring. His eagerness to learn new things and his willingness to try is amazing to witness in our son. We are most proud of Ty. He is truly a nice, kind-hearted person. He is respectful and mindful about how he treats people. We are very proud of Ty. Congratulations, Ty Pearson."
Petaluma High would like to welcome Danielle Stephan as a March Student of the Month. Danielle Stephan is an extremely involved senior with an eclectic and vivacious personality. While at Petaluma High, Danielle has played saxophone in the varsity jazz ensemble, set the league record in pole vault, and recorded over 200 hours of community service. Currently, she is co-president of Petaluma High's Rotary Interact Club, coaches birthday parties at Redwood Empire Gymnastics, and is a fourth-year varsity member of the track and field team. She also manages to hold a 4.6 GPA while taking rigorous courses such as AP Microeconomics, AP Government, AP Statistics, Honors Physics, and AP Calculus BC. She welcomes challenges. One of Danielle's many interests is her favorite. Excuse me, God, I can't talk tonight. Now I lost my place. One of Danielle's many interests, her favorite is pole vaulting. Starting the event as a sophomore, Danielle immediately became hooked and began year-round training with the North Coast Vaulting Association. At the conclusion of her sophomore season, she had vaulted as Sonoma County League meet champions. Her junior year, she improved her personal best to 11 foot 9 inches, setting the overall league record and qualified to the CIF state meet. In addition to pole vault, she also holds SEL titles in the long and triple jump. This year, she has already won the California State Indoor Invitational Meet and is on track to break the Redwood Empire record and become the third girl in Empire history to jump 12 foot or better. Danielle has not yet committed to a particular college. However, she does plan to major in biochemistry and later attend medical school. So far, she has been accepted to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo based solely on her merit. However, she is being heavily recruited to attend Boston University, Sacramento State, or UC Davis as a student athlete. Congratulations, Danielle.
And Danielle's family, if you would rise and be acknowledged.
Petaluma High School would like to honor Chris Quenza as the second student of the month. Chris Quenza challenges himself both in and out of the classroom. He has taken several honors and AP classes throughout his high school career. He is unsure about where he will go to college next year, but he wishes to major in communications and ultimately work in public relations. Outside of the classroom, Chris works at the local restaurant Truth Hombres and swims. He has participated in other sports such as football and basketball throughout high school. Chris has also been a leader at 4-H camp for the past 4 years. Most recently, he was the director at the camp with only 2 other kids. Congratulations, Chris.
And our representatives from Casa Grande. Oh, good. Excellent.
So I'm Brianna Mears, and and I'm Nicolette Ratto, and our first February student of the month is Maciel Dietrich. Maciel has performed with the Casa Grande Drama Department for 3 years and is currently working on her 6th play. For the last 2 years, she has been an editor, reporter, and artist for the Gaucho Gazette. She is enrolled in many AP courses throughout high school and maintains above a 4.0 GPA. In addition to her school-related activities, Maciel enjoys reading philosophy, hiking, and doing judo. She has also taught herself to play the piano and guitar. She takes inspiration from her idols, William Shakespeare and musician Tom York, and hopes to pursue her creative passions in the future.
Congratulations. Family, if you
And then we have Clayton Stonky.
congratulations.
Academics have always played an important role in Clayton's life, well reflected in his current overall GPA of 4.06 ranking 11th in the senior class. He takes special interest in mathematics and science. Aside from academics, Clayton is a highly talented musician, playing the tuba and the trombone in Casa Grande's varsity jazz band, the Petaluma Community Band, as well as participating in the Sonoma County, NorCal, and All-State Honors Bands. Clayton also enjoys playing music outside of school, including jamming with bands downtown on the tuba, creating jazz ensembles with his friends, or simply strumming away on the guitar, the ukulele, or even the banjo. In addition, Clayton has also aided the Casa Grande Drama Department, running the sound and light boards for several of their school productions. This year, Clayton has co-founded the new Casa Grande Adventure Club, periodically joining with students in hikes around Sonoma and Marin counties. The beauty and strength of nature has always been a constant source of wonder and intrigue for Clayton, leading him towards a pursuit in an environmental career. In hopes of using the benefits of an engineering degree towards making human life more sustainable in an increasingly problematic climate, Clayton plans on attending a 4-year university after high school, possibly University of Portland, majoring in civil engineering, possibly with a minor in music.
Congratulations.
Elijah Gerber Kai has a total GPA of 4.0. He is a member of Casa Grande's academic decathlon team who will be going to Sacramento this week to participate in California's state academic decathlon competition. Elijah is also a member of Boy Scouts of America, as well as president of Crew 105, which is a part of Veteran Scouts of America. Both of these organizations have provided Elijah the opportunity to perform many hours of volunteer work in various capacities. Elijah also regularly attends a theological seminary class every morning before school at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Next school year, Elijah will be attending Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, studying animation to one day work for a movie studio or game development company. Congratulations, Elijah.
Elijah's family, if you could rise up.
Okay, our next student of the month is Ben Coos. Ben Coos is a senior at Casa Grande High School. He lives in Pine Grove with his mom, dad, and younger brother. He has done well in school, mostly because he enjoys learning. He is ranked 10th in his class with a total weighted and half GPA of 4.07. Recently, Ben competed on Team 1 in the academic decathlon regional competition, where he took first in his division. Next weekend, he is looking forward to competing in the state competition with the rest of Team 1. Also, Ben has been doing martial arts since he was 7, and after years of hard work, he achieved his second-degree black belt at the age of 12. Since then, he has been trained in Taekwondo, but has expanded to grappling, Kansei, Aikido, and kickboxing. Ben hopes to become a black belt in kickboxing before heading to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in September. Over the summers of 2009 and 2011, Ben got to go to the Dominican Republic with a group of students led by Casa Grande teacher Wendell Kedler. There they spent 2 weeks building houses and interacting with the native Dominican people. Overall, Ben is a well-rounded individual and is very honored to be chosen student of the month. Congratulations.
And Ben's family, if you would like. Now you can understand why we have this at the beginning of the meeting. It always sets the right tone of how amazing our students are, and we thank you all for your hard work and the support of your families. It makes our meetings, especially when we have to go on to budget stuff. So I didn't have them sit down because our next item are student reports from our 2 high schools. So to save some time here,
Alright,
let's
so
get started.
Casa Grande just finished a very successful WASP visit. The entire campus staff and students put a lot of effort and energy welcoming our fabulous WASP committee.
And we have begun work on our master's schedule for the 2012-2013 school year. And the honors biology classes just took an end of project field trip to the zoo and will do their panel presentations on March 16th in their honors biology classes. The topic is ecology and ties in their work with Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, and their individual study of plants and animals along with their research into ecological needs of Petaluma. Anyone from the school board would be invited.
Cheerleaders will be competing at Nationals in Anaheim on March 29th through April 1st. They performed their competition routine at the last rally. GCP 12th grader econ students are working with the City of Petaluma and a city planning green design project. On campus, they are working on a happiness index similar to urban metrics in cities like Seattle and Jacksonville.
And seniors have completed 2 landscape projects. They are senior projects. One is the islands in the front parking lot and in the E-corridor. Dr. Shribs is working with Petaluma Bounty Community Garden for the next 2 months to produce several thousand vegetable starts to sell at Bounty Farm in May to support community gardens. Students will be working with adult volunteers on this project.
The music department has had a very successful 2 months with 17 students participating in the Sonoma County Honor Band. 10 band and 8 choir students participating in the NorCal Honor Band and 4 students who made it into the All-State Honor Band. We We had a very successful jazz dinner dance 2 weeks ago. We would like to invite the school board to attend our spring concert tomorrow night, Wednesday, March 14th at 7 p.m. in Casas NMU. We would also like to invite the board to our Eastside Band Festival on Wednesday, April 4th at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Casas Dining Room.
Independent journalist J.R. Valerie was a guest speaker in the LS 11 classes and stimulated student involvement with the local radio station.
We had our annual GQ show last Friday at the Vets Building. We had our first female competitor this year, Amanda Cummings, and our winner was junior Tim Riekheimer.
We also just completed our Battle of the Bands competition. Our first place winners were last year's winners, and they're named Frenzy. Second place was the all-girl trio 2% Vintage, and third place was the newly formed band called the Latino Band. It's the first time we have had an all-Latino band featured in Battle of the Bands.
We have several upcoming events, including Earth Week, Bike to Work Day, prom, and many more.
The juniors in M-Cube are working on a research paper that is modeled on the senior research paper, and this is an English and history project and focuses on industry. And this weekend, the CASA ACTEP team will be competing in the state competition for the 20th year in a row.
So we want to congratulate our girls basketball team because they made it to the NCS playoffs in the second round this past weekend. And the CASA wrestling team hosted the SCL tournament in February, which resulted in Jack Pisoni and Elijah Balls qualifying for the state tournament. Jack Pisoni ended up in second place.
Lots is happening at CASA. Very busy time. And Representative Petaluma.
Classes have been very busy lately at Petaluma High School. All of the teachers are finishing up their selections for the AP classes next year, as well as students just finished registering today for the AP test in May. So the classes haven't begun to wind down yet. Our ASB program has also been very busy. The senior class just finished their GQ, not this weekend, but the past weekend, and we raised over $4,000 for that. It's a fundraiser for prom, so we're very excited. This week is our Spirit Week. We had our second to last rally yesterday and our prom fashion show today. The rest of the week we have spirit activities planned. Hopefully the weather will let us have some of those. Drama is also getting really geared up right now. They're preparing for their spring play, which will be South Pacific this year. As well, a group of students are preparing tonight to leave for Ashland, Oregon on their annual trip where teachers take them up there and they hear different plays, so a lot of the teachers are very excited about that. Our spring sports season is off to a great start with baseball, softball, swimming, track, badminton, boys tennis, and boys golf, all starting at practices and competing. And we had a wrestler go to state this past couple weeks, so we're very proud that Petaluma is doing so well. So we're really busy too.
Thank you very much. It's nice to hear all that's happening at our sites. Right now we will take a very short recess in case any of you have homework or something that you need to get to before we move on to our other reports. Back. Okay, I guess I have to have the glasses on. Jane Escobedo, our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, will report on the Gifted and Talented Education GATE and English Language Learner Program proposals.
Yeah, we have been working on several proposals for the last couple of months that we thought it was time to bring to you. We have had a couple of meetings. Last week we had a meeting with our e-LERTs, which are our teachers, our resource teachers working with the EL programs, and then a significant other with them. Looking at the EL program, and then we're also going to talk just a little bit about the GATE program. Last week at our meeting, we came up with a statement of purpose. We were looking at our EL master plan that was last updated in 2006. So it's a little out of date. And we looked at a lot of data and that kind of thing and really found that we are not optimally meeting the necessary and anticipated academic growth for our EL students. And that we really, as a district, have kind of plateaued. And we've been talking about this with the board for several months now, actually, and looking at data and different kind of data on our EL population. And so the committee really began to reevaluate and reflect and think about some changes that we might need to make to the master plan. We did a comparison of our EL program with some programs from around the state, San Francisco Unified, Stockton Unified, and Long Beach Unified in particular. And what we overall found is that the program in Petaluma City Schools is kind of inconsistent. In some places, kids are provided ELD daily, on a daily basis for the required 30 minutes. English language development, ELD, I started talking in alphabet soup there, I'm sorry. In the middle and high schools, some EL students receive ELD instruction and academic programs that are designed, and some do not. And that has a function really of the level of proficiency of our students and how that changes. Some students receive daily instruction that promotes the differentiation so that they can access the core and in some schools. On the upside, all of our teachers have a CLAD or a BCLAD and have received training. The training, though, and the implementation of the training for differentiation is a little bit inconsistent across the district. Segue over, GATE. Let's talk about GATE for a second. We have a consistent district-wide identification procedure at the third grade level across the district. Every third grade student is assessed for GATE. We did find that there are some inconsistencies. We've been talking with our GATE coordinators over the course of the last year, and there is some inconsistency from site to site in the implementation of the GATE program, really based once again in this whole idea of differentiation. To begin to address that, we just sent 2 teachers from every single site to the California Association of Gifted Conference last weekend, and they were all trained in this differentiation that they will be bringing back to the district over the course of the next year. And then on top of that, students at some sites access some enrichment opportunities that may not, that are just available there at the sites. They're not available at all sites though. So how these 2 programs come together. Why teach a second language in elementary school? What is Jane talking about? What's this all about? Well, we're thinking about looking at upgrading these 2 programs. And we have a plan for some of the schools in town, and we are continuing to work with some of the other schools. So let me lay the groundwork here, okay? When you teach a second language, when students learn a second language, it is absolutely scientifically proven that there is greater cognitive development going on. They've done the MRIs. A monolingual person's brain fires like this. A bilingual person's brain fires like that. And there's actually, they can actually now document increased cognitive activity in a bilingual student or person. Critical thinking is enhanced. Creativity is enhanced, flexibility, the whole intellectual development and challenge level can go up for students who are learning a second language. We all know the whole theory around students learning languages younger and how they are more open to learning languages younger. That actually has to do with some physical connections that happen in the brain at puberty. And then, of course, we would prepare kids for that global economy that we're trying to prepare them for. There are a lot of different models of teaching a foreign language in an elementary school. These are two. We know about another one that's called a dual language immersion program that goes on in some of our schools. That's not what we're really proposing right now. What we're looking at is an enriched foreign language instructional program, and you can see kind of the outline and requirements there. You can see that it's focused on Spanish because Spanish is our dominant second language in Petaluma at this point in time. Two different models. The enriched model, grades K through 6, the kids spend between 15 and 50% of time in the target language. They acquire proficiency reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Okay? In the foreign language instruction model, the instruction is language-based. It's K6 again. They spend 10 to 20%, and they don't. The difference is that they're not expected to reach proficiency in the target language. The proposal. That's how these two programs come together. Looking at McKinley Elementary, for the 12-13 school year, it will be a grade 4 through 6 school. And what we are proposing is that we would bring a gate magnet program to the McKinley campus. A couple reasons for choosing McKinley. The first one is McKinley is a QUIA school, and the class size is limited because of the QUIA targets. So we could only accept 17 kids. We're thinking of this as kind of a pilot and a kind of a tryout program and see how this might work. So it would be a pilot. Makes sense that we do it with a small group of kids. One classroom, grade 4 for next year. There would be enhanced instruction through technology. We have had a very generous donation of iPads, money for iPads for all 4th graders at McKinley School, which is the other reason for doing this. Enhanced instruction through a differentiated core. The staff is looking at doing some different kinds of instruction, maybe focusing some teachers on English language arts and history or math and science, using some technology to enhance practice and access to the greater world. And then this Spanish language instruction. The Gate kids and the McKinley kids, all the kids there together, would be able to access this Spanish language instruction, and the kids would actually mix together. Third reason for having it at McKinley, we have a large native speaking population there, and the mutual benefit is obvious. In 2013-14, we would add a 5th grade classroom, and then in the following year, in 14-15, we would add a 6th grade classroom. So there would be 3 classrooms, 4, 5, 6. That's where we are traditionally serving Gate students at this time. Okay? Questions?
And what's been the response of the staff at McKinley?
The staff at McKinley is pretty excited about this proposal. We are, as I said, we are working it through the different committees and things at this point.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And when will we?
Within a month.
Okay.
The 3rd grade students are being assessed right now. They're being tested with the Ravens test right at this moment. The testing ends this week actually.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah. Before you get started, I have a speaker card having to do with budget. So I would like to invite that student to come forward and speak about, just because it seems to be relevant. We were talking about our budget right following this, and we would like to hear your comments.
Can we open up there?
Yes, you can, absolutely. And-
Oh, Ron's got it.
have some funding. There's no doubt that this has been happening for quite a while, but we're just lately beginning to feel its effects more strongly and more personally. First off, our class sizes are steadily increasing, which prevents us from getting more one-on-one time with our teachers during class, and actually sometimes provides for a more distracting environment. Also, cutting classes causes a lot of scheduling problems among a huge number of students. I know personally for myself, I had a scheduling conflict at the beginning of this year, which has never happened to me before. And I ended up getting a class which I originally didn't want, but it worked out. But this has been an issue for a lot of students.
And like not only just hands-on during the classroom, but even at breaks, tutorials, lunch, when you can really get hands-on, like time with your teachers, you see other kids that are like busy, or he's busy, or she's busy, you know, with other students, and you can never get you that personal time that you really need to learn.
One of my personal concerns is, especially in the art programs, there's been a lot of cuts in drama programs and music and visual arts. And I know for our program, our music department next year will be suffering from 2 whole section cuts, which really concerns me, and I know it's concerning my teachers. Well, that's as well as core classes, not just visual arts, and other electives as well.
And during this school year, at the beginning of the school year, I as well had never had any scheduling problems, and so this year I got my classes and I thought they were going to be like great because I just go into school, you know, get my classes and then go to each class. And this year I had a class, my classes were, I went into a cluster which was supposed to team teach, and since there were so many kids signed up for the cluster that they had to do 3 sections instead of 2 sections. And so this affected me because I had to choose between my elective or switching to get the sections so I wouldn't be missing the information. So for example, I had history first period and I should go into English second period, but instead I had history first period and English fourth period. So if I started like if we started a movie or something in first period, we'd continue it to second period, but since I had to switch classes, then I would be either like missing half of the lecture or repeating the stuff that I already had learned. So I had to like choose between stay in my elective or just like solve the problem and get through it. So it really affected me because I was so overwhelmed in the beginning of the school year. And so that just not having the flexibility and moving classes or changing clusters was just really hard at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, I know I was really looking forward to take women's history and comparative religions this year, but it got cut at the last minute. And so instead I was planning on signing up for it again next year, but it's been cut like for good. And so that was a really big disappointment. And the same with the astronomy class, they got cut this year. So I wasn't able to take that. And it was pretty disappointing.
So basically, we're just here to express our concerns as students in the system. And we know that some of these issues are issues that can't necessarily be dealt with directly by this council, but are more of state issues and things like that. But we hope that by expressing our concerns that we'll be able to contribute to improving our school systems.
I hope you stay and listen to our budget report, please, because it's illuminating.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate you coming to
Yes,
speak.
yes.
Really commend you for coming.
Yes.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah, it's on. She did it as an agendized item under the
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I'd just like to say real briefly, if I could, addressing some of the comments that you made. So much of what's going on right now is a choice between two horrible choices, or 10 horrible choices. Whether it's astronomy or, you said women's history, some other classes, there's always the other side of that, that because that one got eliminated, another one was kept. And it's hard because all that we're doing right now, it feels like, it's like a mash unit. I mean, it's triage on classes, trying to keep as much of what we can that's relevant for the most people. And it's really difficult for us and for you as well, because it pits, as I think we talked about before, a lot of different subgroups of interests that almost against each other. And that's really what's happening from the state budget cuts being pushed down to the local districts. It's a balancing act of trying to keep as much as we can while having to work within constraints of only certain dollars. So we feel your pain. We don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. I want you to know that a lot of serious thought goes into everything that is done in each one of the schools with regard to what we can keep and what we can't keep. And at the end of the day, it's always picking the best of a worst choice.
And it never feels good. We
No.
never leave feeling good about it.
It's tough.
And I would invite you, I mean, here it's micro, when you look at the state and how they allocate their money, that's macro. So I would invite one of you or more of you to look at the state budget and see their priorities, because it's going to affect you going forward. And so what are your, well, you're not, I don't know if any of you are 18 yet, but you will be soon enough and you'll be voting. So what are your elected representatives doing? Where is their focus? Is it prisons? Is it, schools? And this money is out there, and they pick and choose where it goes. We just have to deal with what we get. And it's very difficult because we're supposed to be a local municipality, basically, but there's a lot of strings to what we get and what we have to do and what we can't do. So a lot of times our hands are extremely tied. Even though all of us would like to do something, the money comes with strings attached. So I would invite one of you, or again, more of you, to look at the state budget overall and see how it works with public education, and get involved and educate yourself and educate your peers, educate your parents. I think there's a big disconnect. A lot of people don't understand how it works. And I think you guys would really be well received, whomever you shared that information with, and you might even get extra credit making a presentation to your your civics class or one of your classes that a teacher might be willing to support you in that research.
But thank you for coming.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. We do appreciate your comments, and now you get to know a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of our budget and what we're facing this next coming year, which is yet again another potential horrific budget year.
Usually there's Darth Vader music playing right now. Must be broken.
As Bride of Darth comes and gives us Go ahead and talk to that synthesizer.
I know, maybe Jaws music? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'll have to incorporate that. Well, so here we are at our second interim, two-thirds way through the school year. And in summary, the transportation cut that was supposed to happen of 50% of the transportation dollars was restored, but it was converted to a revenue limit cut, which is unrestricted dollars. For our district, because we have transportation, we actually came out ahead, because now they've spread the revenue limit cut across the state to every single district and not just districts that have transportation. So we have a small benefit to this. But having said that, it created an increased deficit from first interim, which our deficit was 19.754%. That means that we're getting funded just under 80% for every dollar that we should be receiving from the state. And now it's increased by this revenue limit cut to over 20.6%. So, yeah. We have no change really in our ADA projections. Our average daily attendance really hasn't changed very much. We'll have a final, when we submit our P2 numbers, we'll do a final change to the revenue limit. But overall, we have an increase to our unrestricted, unappropriated fund balance of $540,000. And there are a couple of primary reasons for that. One is we budgeted conservatively on utilities. We had a rather mild winter, and also we have the solar, which is really contributing towards a decrease in electricity. So we really didn't have a gauge on that. So again, we budgeted conservatively. The other thing that greatly affected this increase to the fund balance is that we have over a 17% decrease in the number of students attending our SCO special ed programs. And so that is a significant impact. And even with the fact that we decreased our budget in the revenue limit side by almost $400,000, we still had a net gain of 540. So it was a significant swing on the special ed side.
Is that just luck of the draw, the way the wind blows?
Yeah.
Or it's not something that you manage, it sort of happens?
Right.
And I'm not sure if you go the other way.
For a district of our size, it's more manageable. I mean, small districts, when they get a couple of non-public school students in their district, it really makes a difference to their bottom line. Obviously, for us, that number of students makes a significant difference as well. But it's in a lot larger budget, and in this case, it was positive in that it's a lesser number than we had budgeted for.
Right. And we've seen years where it's gone the other way, where we've had to make those types of increases. So yeah, I guess it's our lucky year. So when we look at our ending balance trends, this number here, our unappropriated, unrestricted, went up by the $540,000. And you can see we have a net decrease of just over $3 million. Netted against our beginning balance, we're estimating right now that we'll have an ending balance of almost $2 million. Our restricted reserves are just under 4.3 million, and then that leaves us with the unappropriated of just under 5.9, which will help us with our deficit spending out in these years. So in this year is an unfunded COLA, as the governor has proposed. And we're looking at $3.6 million in deficit spending. So when all this is said and done, for next year, we're estimating that we would be at just under $2.4 million in our unappropriated reserves to come forward and support this deficit spending. In 13-14, we're estimating that we would see a 2.4% cost of living increase, and that combined with a slight increase in ADA of about 96 students is helping to decrease this deficit spending. But it's still deficit spending nonetheless of $2.5 million. So when you net that against our beginning unappropriated balance, we wind up with a small negative of $107,000, which is not bad. Not bad, but this is the best case scenario. Again, this assumes that we'll see a funded cost of living out here. So now, the bad news. This is our trends with the November initiative failing and the district having to take another $370 per student cut, which equates to over $2.6 million a cut to this line and this line, because it will be ongoing. So as you can see, that cut in revenue makes this deficit spending jump to over 6.3 million, and then in our third year out, over 5.2 million. Now when you look at our net unappropriated reserves. We're upside down by $300,000 by the end of next year. And we are upside down by over 5.5 million in the following year.
Let's walk through the 370 cut, the story behind 370 and the initiative.
Oh, okay. As part of the 2012-13 budget, the governor is proposing
State budget.
the state budget, yes.
Not our budget.
Not our budget. The state budget is proposing that we would receive flat funding. Well, this flat funding is contingent on this governor's budget initiative passing in November on the election ballot.
And what does flat funding mean?
Excuse me?
And what does flat funding mean?
Oh, flat funding means that we would see similar funding as we are in this year. And so you can see here we are at 66.9 million, and that includes some other revenues. But in theory, our basic revenue would be funded at the same level. We wouldn't be going up. We won't be seeing a cost of living. Typically, we would see a cost of living adjustment in this year, which is a requirement by law. And when they don't fund that cost of living adjustment, they call it a deficit. So right now, you saw earlier in my slide that we have over a 20.6% deficit. So that means we're receiving less than 80% of our funding, 79.4% of the dollar that we get
What we're supposed to get. What they're supposed to get.
is based on that. So if this initiative doesn't fail, and the initiative includes two things. It includes a sales tax increase of 0.5%, and it also includes an increase in income tax for people earning $250,000 a year and more. So that is questionable about whether or not that will actually pass on the November ballot. There are people who kind of like taxing the more wealthy people, but there are people who would be hit by the 0.5% sales tax for everything that you purchase. That includes sales tax, like a car, you know, I'm sorry, what?
I said candy bar.
Candy bar. That's right.
Yeah.
And so people don't support that 0.5% sales tax increase. So whether or not it will pass is pretty questionable at this point.
That's why we have the two worst case and best case.
Right.
If that passes, yeah.
So if the initiative passes, we're not gaining any money by the initiative passing. We're getting quote unquote flat funding, which for us, over the last 5 years, that's more stable than what we have seen. But education will take 98% of the cut if it doesn't pass. So we have no gain, but we take all the pain. So.
Good summary.
Okay.
That
So.
That bottom middle column is supposed to be red, right?
Oh, yes, yes. That should be red, a very ugly color red. So thank you. Okay, so let's talk about this deficit factor, and it doesn't make sense. Yes. Yeah. At first interim, again, it was 19.754%. And then at the first interim, our subsequent years out, meaning these years, the deficit factor was 21.666%. So if you're taking another cut and you have an unfunded COLA, you would estimate that you would add at least 3% on top of that, and then you'd see this new deficit. Well, here they are proposing additional cuts, no funded COLA, and this deficit factor doesn't change in the year in the subsequent years. So we've done some of our own math, and we can't figure out how this would happen. I mean, really, it would assume that that the $13 per revenue limit cut was a one-time. It assumes that the converted transportation cut that we've seen to the revenue limit is one time, and that it would all be restored in our subsequent years. And it would also assume that this isn't the real COLA that we would see. So there's a lot of assumptions. And even when we got the January proposal from the governor. School Services of California was scratching their head saying, you know, we can't figure out how the Department of Finance comes up with this number. It doesn't work. So they called it a technicality and said that they have to work on it. So again, the mid-year trigger cut of $13 plus the transportation, leading to this 20.62. Same there. By my calculations, we would see over a 23% deficit starting next year and moving forward. And if they actually true up that deficit factor to what it really should be, then we would look at another $700,000 in cuts just based on that deficit factor being trued up. So we're playing with such wishy-washy numbers at this point, and numbers that don't make sense. From Sacramento, that it is very frustrating to build these multi-year projections, to say the least of trying to figure out our cash flows, which is another challenge. So anyway, this has been a perplexing and frustrating part of trying to develop these budgets and really have a handle on what it really should look like. So again, our uncertainty for funding has never been greater. Is the $13 and the transportation cut are really a one-time? We really don't know, and we can't get any answer out of Sacramento about whether or not transportation will in fact be cut out of next year's budget, or whether or not we'll see a greater revenue limit cut. No idea. The impact of the possible failure of the governor's initiative in November, and on top of all that, the current year revenues are not meeting the expectations of the current year budget. They're below. State revenues. So I'm trying to give the range of best case and worst case, but even my worst case may not be the worst case. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our unrestricted expenses and kind of talk about, you know, how we spend our unrestricted dollars. And our biggest piece is salaries and benefits, and they exceed over 85% of our unrestricted budget. Yes.
Maybe you should look at what unrestricted and restricted mean for us.
Okay. Yes, be happy to. We get dollars in several buckets or several ways. One is unrestricted, which the district can choose what they spend it on, or how to, for example, whether or not, you know, how we staff teachers, what our class size ratio is, whether or not we can afford athletics. And then we get buckets of money that are called restricted dollars. And for example, we may get a grant, and maybe over the years we've had a couple of grants. One is a PE grant for elementary. Well, it's very, very specific for that program. It's a federal grant, and they had very specific requirements of how they could spend the money. So even though we got several $1 million for that grant, we couldn't use it for your classroom, for example. It was very, very limited. So when we talk about having to balance our budget, it's always on the unrestricted side where we have to bring all the cuts into and make it balance. So that's why this piece of the budget is so important, to look at how we spend our dollars.
During these difficult times, salaries and benefits have gone from approximately 80% to 85%.
And that includes having staff take cuts in pay.
Correct.
Yes.
So not only is it becoming a larger portion, that it also reflects the fact that our teachers and our classified staff have taken cuts in pay, because we're trying to retain as many teachers and classified staff as possible in order to have as many classes, sections, and other services, so.
Yes, our goal was to keep as many employees as possible, so everybody, over the last several years, everybody's given a little bit in the form of salary and benefit cuts.
Well, and the students have given as well because of instructional days, because of the cuts. And so the students as well has given something that.
Absolutely, and we're going in the wrong direction. This budget proposal, if the initiative fails, we used to be at 180 school days per year. Right now, we're at 177. Next year, we're looking to go to 175 days in the school year. And in actuality, we should be going in the other direction. All of our industrialized nation competitors, those kids have 200 days of school, and they have a longer school day. And so they're getting far more education than you guys actually are. And so this budget, if the initiative fails, the governor will allow us to go down to 160 school days. So if you can imagine that, it's pretty bad. So my point being is, as we look at this unrestricted side of our expenses, and we have 85% of it, greater than 85% of it in salaries and benefits, and just minimal, I mean, services, I mean, this is our utilities, this is our insurance, these are the things that we have to even operate. Books and supplies, less than 4% of our dollars go towards books and supplies. Equipment is less than 0.5%. And then other miscellaneous outgo, like leases and the like, about 1.5%. There's not a lot of wiggle room in this piece of the 15% pie. On the flip side, I just thought I'd show you how the restricted side looks. And because these dollars are restricted and it's very prescriptive in how we can spend it, this part of the pie looks very different. We're only spending 63% on salaries and benefits. We're spending twice as much in books and supplies out of restricted dollars. Services, which includes our special ed services as well. So 50% of this 27% is special ed. NPA, MPS, and SCO costs. And then a real small percent of 1.2% of indirect costs to support all these programs.
Mitch, in total dollar amount, the restricted expense is significantly smaller than
Yes.
unrestricted, right?
Yes. Our restricted, I know. For example, in this year, our restricted dollars, which one has here, projections. There we go. When you look at, if you're looking at our total budget is about $66 million. And of the $66 million, about 50 of that is unrestricted dollars. And only about 32 million. No, it doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. 65 plus 9, 66. I'm sorry, it's me that. 42 million, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong line. 42 million is unrestricted, and about 24 million is restricted.
2/3 is unrestricted, roughly.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give you that snapshot so that when you understand, we have to look to the unrestricted side of the budget to balance it, to make these cuts that are coming. So we had a district budget committee, and this year, because we have significant reductions that have been recommended based on the potential of this cut, we instituted the augmented budget committee. And the augmented budget committee included representatives from every single school site in the district. It included a teacher, an administrator, a parent, and a classified worker from the school site, which could be a secretary, it could be a custodian. Those are all the people who aren't teachers who support the school sites. And they came, they listened to our presentation about what was happening with the budget and that we needed, in our estimation, to cut about $3.4 million out of next year's budget to make sure that we could meet our financial obligations over the next several years. And so this is a list that was brought to the district budget committee, and actually that list was very, very long, and there was no way to present that here. So we're giving you the condensed version of what the budget committee came up with as far as recommendations for your consideration. And a lot of these recommendations are just that at this point because they have to be negotiated with the unions before they could actually go into effect. For example, the decrease in teacher days. Those days, for example, there's, in this year we have 2 instructional days and 1 staff development day that are reflected in those teacher days.
Two work days, not instructional days. 2 work days and 1 staff development day.
Right, but we're cutting 2 school days for next year.
Okay.
So, so reality is that we're losing 2 school days and 1 staff development day for our teachers, and that cost, which we apply to every single employee in the district, because we'll all take a cut or a reduction in our work year, totals about $660,000 to reduce the work year. An increase in class size, we estimate that by increasing class size in K3 from 22 to 1 to 25 to 1, for 4, 5, and 6 from 28 to 29 students per teacher, and the same at the 7 to 12 range as well. We estimate by doing that class size increase that we will reduce our teaching staff by 15 full-time equivalents. So that means if a teacher taught full-time, we would lose 15 teachers to increase the class size in the district. And that savings would be about $975,000. Right now, there's a retirement option for CSEA bargaining unit members and management that has been approved, and one that was brought to the table to PFT today for consideration. We are not able to determine what those savings would be. We don't estimate that we would see them in 2012-13 because there's a cost associated with it, but it brings future savings into the out years because people would be lower on the salary schedule by having retirements. Our financial system, if we transfer the server and some of our services to another district, possibly even our own, we could save a minimum of $100,000. So that's an easy fix. We have, next year, we have 2 leases that are coming to their end and they're expiring. And so we won't be adding any buses to our fleet. And so that's going to save the district $75,000. The committee voted to decrease the substitute pay rate, and even with that decrease, it brings very minimal savings. And when you're talking about trying to reach $3.4 million in budget cuts, that's a really, it doesn't add very much to getting there, but it does help. Every little bit helps. In looking at our San Antonio child care situation, we have a decreased enrollment at that program and lower infants and toddlers in the program. And based on our staffing ratios that are legal requirement, we believe that we can eliminate one position because we're currently overstaffed with that. And community entrepreneurs, these are the people who write our grants and bring in millions of dollars. And there's a small portion of that is being paid out of our unrestricted dollars. Most of their salaries are paid out of the restricted bucket of money. And so that's already dictated how we spend it, so it's not an issue. But there is a small component in the general fund of $12,000. In looking at the transportation program and the fact that from what we know at this point in time, the home to school transportation dollars would be quote unquote considered flexible. And so home to school transportation is an optional program. However, our transportation for our special ed students is not optional. And right now we do a lot of contracting out of services to get our special ed students in all sorts of places throughout the county. And by eliminating the home to school component of our transportation department and taking back all of our special ed or most of our special ed students to be transported, we believe that we can save about $200,000 in encroachment by doing that. In addition to that, the change in the transportation cut to a revenue limit cut, I shared with you earlier that that would give us a net positive. Well, for half the year, it would be half this figure. If they move forward with this same program or proposed cuts, then we would see a net increase in our revenues of about $265,000. So that's just, it is what it is. It really isn't a vote to or from or for or against. It just generates that kind of revenue. The other suggestion was to eliminate one in-house suspension position. Right now we have 2 in the district. This would be eliminating 1, and we would hire a substitute, which is a lot cheaper than hiring an in-house, than having a regular teacher do it. The last one here of $100,000 in savings is not to issue our annual tax revenue anticipation note loan. And there's a cost associated with going out for that loan. In the past, when there have been higher interest rates, we've been able to make money by issuing that loan and to help our cash flow because we receive property taxes only twice a year in December and April. So this cash loan basically helps us level out our cash so that we can make our payroll every month. So if we don't issue this TRAN, then we would save about $100,000 by doing that. And we will avoid going negative by utilizing the county treasurer's funds. And right now, their rate is about 0.5% annual interest rate. So even if we had to borrow money from them, it's the cheapest dollar out there. And there's no cost associated with it other than that 0.5% on an annual basis, which is pretty much nothing. So at this point, the district budget committee has been able to come up with just under $2.5 million in recommended cuts at this point in time. And I shared earlier that we really need about $3.4 million in cuts. This is the best that the budget committee could come up with at this point in time. And there are things that will come out of negotiations, but again, we won't know all the final numbers until things are negotiated. So the district budget committee won't reconvene until things are settled with our unions and we see what these actual numbers look like. And then if it falls above or short of that 3.4 million, we'll determine whether or not we reinstitute the budget committee and or the augmented district budget committee to look at further reductions. So, Okay, so this is our ending balance trends, and it includes the district budget committee recommendations. Now this assumes that the initiative passes at this point in time. I know. So again, this year doesn't change because it is what it is at this point. But remember when we were looking at a negative of just under $300,000, if we implement these budget cuts, then this grows to just under $5 million positive. And you can see that the deficit spending in this row right here is decreased tremendously. When you look at 13-14 and we implement almost $2.5 million in cuts, you can see that our deficit spending in 13-14 almost goes away. That's a really small deficit right there. And you can see that we end with, again, just under $5 million in unrestricted, unappropriated funds. So the reason why we need to implement these cuts, even though this looks pretty good out here, is because the election happens in November. And we're already into the school year, and it's too late to make significant cuts if the initiative fails. So basically, the district has to behave responsibly, unlike those at the state level, and plan for the worst to happen, because the district would be very hard pressed to recover from cuts that will happen in January if we don't plan like they're going to happen. So if you look at the trends with the initiative failing, this is where it puts us. Our deficit spending is now $3.8 million.
So that includes the cut of $2.5 million.
Yes, this includes the $370 cut per student, which is about just under $2.7 million in total. And you can see what it does to our deficit spending here. And in 13-14, it's over 2.7. When you look at our bottom line of unappropriated funds, yeah, we're positive in 12-13, but when you net it against the fact that we're deficit spending by that much, and we end 13-14 with over $440,000 upside down of meeting our 3% reserve requirement.
Could you briefly explain to the students what the 3%
Yes.
means so they know what they're talking about?
Yes. Okay, so for every dollar that we spend on this line here, those are our total expenses in the general fund, we have to have a 3% reserve. So 3% of the 69 is about just over $2 million, $2,099,000. And so the reserve is supposed to be for any kind of fiscal emergency. Well, we're in a huge fiscal emergency, and we have been for the last 5 years. So 3% actually isn't good enough. And that's why we need such a big ending fund balance, because we don't know what's going to happen in these out years. And so we have to be conservative about protecting the programs. If we had to turn around and make such deep cuts in the middle of the year, oh my God, it would just decimate the programs that we're able to provide for you. And since you are our priority, that's not what we want to do. So for every dollar that we spend, we have to have a 3% reserve. And if this number is negative, that means that we're that much short of meeting that reserve requirement of about $3 million. Less than $3 million, but so. Okay.
One thing that I think the students would be interested in knowing, when you were talking about the restricted and unrestricted funds, for instance, when you look out in your parking lot and you see all that solar system, the fact that we have that there has saved some of the unrestricted funds to be spent on education rather than paying PG&E bills. So probably Midge or Steve could give you exactly what kind of amount that we are saving just by having a covered parking structure.
Right, those solar panels are actually saving us money out of the general fund. Remember I talked earlier about needing to decrease the utility budget because we didn't know how much we would experience in the savings? Well, I decreased the budget by about $240,000 because we're saving that much money by having the solar panels there. So those solar panels, we didn't use the general fund unrestricted bucket to build those with. We had bond funds, which are outside of the general fund and not allowed to be used in the classroom, but they're used for infrastructure type needs. And that's what we utilize to build those solar structures. So it made a huge impact. So this chart, I've shown this to you before, but I thought I'd bring it back because it just kind of hits home about the amount of revenues that we have lost over the years and the impact. So back here, before the recession started, this was our funding level. It was $5,821 on average per student that we were receiving on our revenue limit dollars. That's the money that we earned by you guys being in attendance at your school every day over the course of a year. So then 2008, 2009 hit and our recession just started. And you can see that we took a cut here. But this is where we were supposed to be funded. This is the line if we were still receiving the $5,821. This line up here are the numbers that represent what we should have been receiving if we received our statutory cost of living adjustment over every single year. You can see it goes up. Some years it's a larger jump than others. Here we had a slight negative and then it climbed again. This year our cost of living adjustment was 2.24% that we should have received over this year, okay? But instead, this bottom line down here is what we're actually being funded. And you can see the level of cuts that the district has taken. And it's not just our school district, but it's school districts across the state who have taken cuts like this. So this is our loss. This gap right here is our loss of cost of living adjustment. This is our additional cuts to what we were funded in 2007-08, and then this here is if that initiative fails, this is the additional $370 cut that the district will take, all districts will take if the initiative fails. So when you look at these dollar amounts and what they mean to our school district, the cost of living adjustment, we've lost per student $921 per student per year, and it totals it's totaling over $6.6 million more that we should have in this year right now, okay? The revenue limit cut, which is this line here, okay? This is the additional cuts that we've taken. That cost us over $3.9 million. Those two items alone total almost $10.6 million that we should be receiving today, just based on our statutory ability. Okay. Then if we were average in the nation, we would be seeing another $7.2 million. Okay, and these three lines together total about $18 million that if we were average in the nation, we would be receiving. If we receive the $370 cut, that's just under $2.7 million, and the combined total is over $20.5 million in money that we could, if they implement that cut, that we won't be seeing in a $66 million budget. Okay, that's it.
Sorry. No, it was coming, it really,
Yes.
and for people watching at home, and thank you for sitting through all of
Yes,
that.
you know what? Yeah. I can get rid of this.
Yeah.
Okay, so, any,
All right, so questions are, now that's a lot of information. Comments? Mike. Hello?
oh my God.
So clearly the number that jumps out at me is if we had the COLA and the revenue limit that's supposed to be, we should have $10.5 million more.
Yes.
We don't.
Actually, right now it's 17.5, right?
Shoot, I just
You
turned
turned
it
it
up.
up. Here, we got it. I mean, I have it.
I have it here.
Well, I'm not counting the third.
Just COLA
No,
and
that
revenue
was
limit
20
cut,
million.
it would be,
Well, that was, that includes the average.
it would be, yeah, that would be if we were funded at the national
national
average,
average.
we would be
That's a
at
pipe
$18 million.
But 12.5 million, if we had the funding, the
Yeah.
COLA, the revenue limit to date, and then the 370 expected cuts for next year
Yes.
is 12.5 million.
Yes, it would be.
So that's just a number that people at home need to know. That's why we have larger class sizes. That's why we have to cut sections across the board. Everybody's been cut and nobody's happy. So, you know, whatever the interest is, whether it's FFA or culinary arts or English or math, you know, everything has taken a cut. And as you could tell from the list that the augmented budget came up with, they could come up with 2.5 million of the 3.4, but nobody wants to come up with that extra $900,000 in cuts.
Not at this time, not
at
until
this time.
negotiations are finalized.
Right, and until we know more from the state. But given the fact that the state revenues are below what they are projected for this year, the governor's budget in May could be even worse. So, that's our,
But I hope it doesn't discourage you from being proponents of education and more money education, and maybe instead enlighten you and encourage you to continue to get involved and
Right.
channel you in the right directions on who to tell to give us our stinking money.
right, and it really is we've gotten to a stage in this community where we have a number of people interested in trying to change what's happening, to change the funding model, because it's not working. So, thank you for showing an interest. Okay. Thanks, Mitch.
You're most welcome. I really wish that someday, we could go back to the old thing where, you know,
You got to do the good news?
I got to do the good news. But there is good news, though. We did hear that our Kaiser rates are not going up.
Oh, good.
So-
That is excellent news, okay. We'll take any little tiny bit of this. Okay, oh, yes.
I saw I think about a week ago in the paper, I saw something about like dogs being brought up to the campuses for searching for like marijuana or any
Right.
controlled substances. And I was just wondering if it was going to take effect.
We
Yeah,
have
that
that
was
on our
unofficial.
consent agenda, and I'd be happy to, if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to pull it from the agenda, if you need to comment on it.
Oh, I was just curious.
Yeah, but we will be voting on that on our consent agenda. Okay,
Momentarily.
yes, okay. Okay. Item H, approval of the minutes of February 28th, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item I, comments from the public, we've already,
I think you might have one as well.
oh, we have some more cards?
Mark?
No? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Item J, reporting activities and correspondence of school board members. A couple of us have attended the Education Coalition, which is addressing this funding issue. Various sporting events, including tennis matches, softball, swimming. Several attended the new National Little League Park dedication. And let's see, I skipped, the Petaluma High GQ night. Cherry Valley State of the School night. And I know there was something else. Did you do the Lions Club host the Project Red?
I did.
Okay, All right, so there's, it's been busy. Okay, item K, agenda, approval of the consent agenda by consolidated motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item under,
Did we have a comment?
Should we explain what that means?
Okay.
Since he's waiting.
yes, that means we just approved it. Yes, thank you.
That's what we're going to.
I was happy to hold it, but, okay. Under Administration and Human Resources, item 1, Employment Report, recommended motion that the employment report be approved.
So moved.
Second.
And before you have the revised
Yes,
employment report.
okay.
So the revised employment report be approved.
Did we need to have any discussions about it?
It was just some of the actions that you had taken in previous meetings weren't on the employment report because one of the employees in HR has been taken away for family
Okay.
reasons and just got back and was able to complete that today.
Finish it up. Okay, great. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
And item 10, student attendance calendars for the 2012-2013 school year. Recommended motion that the board approve the 2012-2013 student attendance calendars for Penn Grove Elementary School and Mary Collins at Cherry Valley Charter School.
Moved.
Second.
We have it as a hold item, just to share with you that they're not exactly the same for next year. Mary Collins, we have been moving a little ways away from the 45-15 traditional calendar. Mary Collins is going back to that, and Penn Grove is staying more to what we have had in recent years. So Penn Grove, Mary Collins is starting a week earlier and getting out a week later.
Is there a busing?
There's no transportation at all to Mary Collins as a charter school. So there's no, the only minimal impact is food services, and that is minimal. And we'll also have summer school who will be providing lunches for during the entire period of time. So negligible impact to the district.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody want to comment on the deleted board policies? No. Hold item 7 under business services. Certification of the second interim report. Recommended motion that the board approve a positive certification that the Petaluma City Elementary and Petaluma Joint Union High School districts will be able to meet their financial obligations at year end.
Moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 8, revised deferred maintenance program for the 2011-2012 school year. Recommended motion that the deferred maintenance budget for 2011-2012 deferred maintenance work program be approved and the superintendent be authorized to call for bids on those projects where necessary.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
You had the list
Yes.
in the agenda, and we'll be spending, again, several $100,000 in deferred maintenance, and those are monies restricted for that purpose.
I didn't see I saw the list by category, but is there a list by project?
Yeah, and
Couldn't find it.
we have by school, so you have a list by school, and if it's basically flooring, yeah, you have this. So it talks about floors, roofs, and paint, and trip hazards in asphalt and concrete are the focus for next year as to what we will complete. In total, they will be, we just reviewed it this week, it'll be several $100,000 that will go out to bid.
Okay.
Here's the project category.
Oh, here we go.
What's the project category?
I got it on the side.
That's cool, yeah.
Okay.
I did not read thoroughly the report, so what's your thank you?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the rest is consent. Item L, we will now adjourn to closed session to finish up what we did not finish in our prior closed session. And then we will also be signing papers of a routine nature. I'll report out later any action we take, and then future business. Our next meeting, it will be here on April 10th at 6 p.m. And then there's a long list of activities. Okay?
She wants something, she wants to give me something.